I chose the trope identity. I chose this specifically because throughout the entire text, you can sort of see how she uses the story to show how her identity is still in God and her religion. You can see it's a constant theme throughout where she tries to make sure they know that even though she is a hostage and a victim and a mother, even though she has all these titles, above all, her identity is in God and her religion and in being a Christian. Um, you can see that in this next quote. And indeed, quickly the Lord answered in some measure my poor prayers, for as I am going up and down mourning and lamenting my condition, my son came to me and asked me how I did. And during this specific quote, you can see how she's saying that even though it is bad, she had her faith in God and He did answer her prayers in the means of giving her a minute with her son. And that sort of shows how she's pointing out that her identity in God never actually wavers. It's harder sometimes to see how God can be in your life when things are not going the way you have planned or seem really terrible or harsh, that your identity is still in God if you're a Christian. And I think that's the point she's trying to get across right here. Another one, it was a solemn sight to see so many Christians lying in their blood, some here and some there, like a company of sheep torn by wolves. I picked this one specifically because the word Christians, you can see she could have chose any other word or just so many people, so many humans, so many mothers and fathers and families, but instead she specifically says Christians, and that's because she's trying to show throughout her story that being a Christian is her identity, and her identity is in God, and that never changes no matter what position or other title was forced upon her, like, for example, victims. None of that changed the fact that she was a Christian and that her identity was in God and her religion. So I believe the entire time throughout this story, that was sort of her entire point, was to show that even when things are terrible, God is in your life, and just because things are going bad doesn't mean that change anything that has changed your religion. You are still a Christian, you are still a follower of God. Your identity is still in God. Just because of your situation, that doesn't change that. And I think that's what she's trying to show by presenting this story and how horrible it was for her and how she was starving, but yet her identity was still in God, and that's what made it okay, and that's how she got through it, and how she even continues to be able to thank God for all the little things, even when a lot of bad is going on around her.